Parcel to be delivered. Lolo Logistics, ready to help. Priority parcel in transit. Captain Lumi at your service. Parcel collected on time. Give me a 5-star rating. Navigator at Lolo Logistics and leader of a transport squad. Born in a mountain village in Yuezhu, Lumi's sincere and caring nature brings warmth to everyone around her. Mountain Memories. Outside an old house in Yuezhu lies a patch of reeds beside the lake. To the north, the water narrows. To the south, it widens, resembling a sliced pear, with the surface shimmering under the night sky. The summer air hung thick with heat, lulling the world into a drowsy stupor. In the quiet of the evening, Lumi nestled in her mother's arms on a rocking chair by the window. Her eyelids drooped as she gazed out sleepily. The soft breeze from a fan brushed her skin, making her squint with contentment. The chorus of insects filled the yard, and Lumi curled even closer to her mother, lulled by the comforting sounds of the village. This small place was Changzhuang. No one could quite remember why it was called that, but they grew accustomed to this name over time. The disasters following the lament had spread across all of Huanglong. Even here, deep in the mountains of Yuezhu, they had left their indelible mark by cutting the village off from the outside world. Technology crumbled, and the villagers returned to the old ways, farming, hunting, surviving as their ancestors once had. Life was dictated by the rising and setting sun. Over time, people in Changzhuang became used to the peace and simplicity of this lifestyle. The day Lumi was born, the whole house lit up. The swaddled infant glowed softly, catching the eye of every villager. They gathered in the yard, curious to see the newborn who shone like a small beacon. Resonators were rare here, and ones like Lumi, with such innate power, were even rarer. But in a village as tranquil as Changzhuang, there were no grand challenges that even needed the child resonator to solve. Therefore, Lumi grew up carefree, just like other ordinary children in the village. She learned the ways of the mountains and fields, how to track wild animal traces, and how to distinguish which plants might sate a hungry belly. People in Changzhuang enjoyed cooling off under the shade of a tree. As Lumi ran through the trees with her friends, her inborn light flickered as if performing a cheerful dance. The village elders lovingly called her Sunshine, while her friends dubbed her Lumi the Firefly. Yet Lumi often wondered about her strange gift, unsure of its purpose. More often than not, it was a nuisance. On hunting trips, her light would flash uncontrollably, startling prey. After being asked to temporarily sit out from the hunts, Lumi's heart sank with a pang of frustration. Alone, she wandered to the marshes by the reeds and sat down. Her glow flickered, dimmed, and then brightened again as she practiced, trying to control the light. Finally, exhaustion set in, and she drifted off to sleep. Despite her struggles, Lumi never felt rushed. Life in Changzhuang was slow, and there was always time to grow and to learn. The shimmering surface of the lake returned to darkness. The night breeze ferried the croaks of frogs away. Tomorrow was another day. Towards the horizon.
Tuesday, clear skies. I watched the sunset from Caidong Peak, but Zhang didn't come. She seems to have lost interest in this kind of thing.
Lumi paused and closed her notebook in the golden light of the setting sun. It was a thick hardcover notebook, a birthday gift from her parents, one she had chosen herself. Once a diary, it had transformed into an exploration journal as she grew older. As a child, Lumi was content wandering the pebble paths of Changzhuang, but now, those paths felt too small. Her curiosity stretched beyond the borders of the village. She longed for the roads that led to the world outside. The only problem was, no one had found those roads in a long, long time. Her father once told her about the many failed attempts. Over the years, many had tried to find a way beyond the mountains, but all had returned empty-handed, lost, or worse. Eventually, the villagers gave up, their focus shifting to more immediate concerns. Life in Changzhuang was demanding, farming from spring to autumn, then bracing for the long winter when the mountains would disappear under a blanket of silver frost, making exploration impossible. Lumi understood the demands of life, yet her curiosity and yearning for adventure burned even brighter. She quickly gathered a group of friends and formed a small exploration team, determined to find a way out. But despite their excitement, failure kicked in. The aftermath of the lament had seemingly twisted the terrain, eliminating every possible way out, just like it had their forebears. At first, the setbacks didn't bother them. They were kids after all, full of energy and hope. But as time passed, they drifted away. The older ones joined the labor teams, others lost interest. Lumi's once lively group dwindled, and today her exploration ended earlier than planned as everyone was eager to hurry home before dusk settled in. Lumi sighed. She knew that for most of her friends, this was just a way to pass the time. She stood up, cupped her hands around her mouth, and shouted towards the mountains, her voice echoing against the rocks and trees before fading into the evening air. The sunset blazed across the sky, casting the horizon in shades of red and gold before melting into the soft kiss of the night. Lumi smiled, patting her cheeks lightly. It didn't matter. The thrill of discovering something new, something unknown, still filled her with excitement.
Oh, I'll tell Zhang all about the view when we meet for ice pops tonight. And Beihai, Ming.
She whispered the names of her friends as she waved goodbye to the mountains, then turned and made her way down the hill, alone but content. Neon City.
You're awake? Here, drink this.
As her eyes fluttered open, her parched lips met the cool, sweet droplets of water. Her hand instinctively gripped the container and she eagerly gulped it down.
Easy now, don't rush,
the voice urged, gentle and concerned.
You'll choke if you drink too fast.
As the last drop slipped down her throat, Lumi blinked, her mind finally clearing. She looked up at the faces of her rescuers, a small squad, 3 of them, dressed in similar clothing. Their leader, a girl with a kind smile, helped her sit up.
Are you from around here? That's a surprise. We were told there's no one living in these parts,
the girl said, a hint of curiosity in her voice.
Guess we'll need to update our map. Thank you for saving me,
Lumi whispered, her words faltering. The world she knew was small, confined to the mountains and the narrow boundaries of Changzhuang.
Are you from the outside?
The squad exchanged glances, and it was then that Lumi noticed the emblem on their uniforms. A chubby hamster wearing a straw hat, grinning adorably. A hand reached out, helping Lumi to her feet.
Sorry for the late introduction. We're from Lolo Logistics, a delivery squad.
Months later, Cheng Zhao smiled, setting the comb down and patting Lumi's shoulder.
Take a look. How do you feel?
Lumi stared at her reflection, stunned by the unfamiliar face in the mirror. The girl staring back at her had neat curls and wore a clean, fitted Lolo Logistics uniform, looking every bit the city dweller she had become. Cheng Zhao, the leader of the squad that had rescued her, had taken Lumi from the quiet of Changzhuang to the bustling city and taken her under her wing. She was quick-witted, reliable, and now Lumi's mentor at Lolo Logistics.
I look different,
Lumi muttered, scratching her head shyly.
Thank you, Cheng Zhao.
None of that formality now, Cheng Zhao laughed.
I'm off to deliver some documents. Cafeteria later?
Sure. As the door closed, Lumi returned to stare at the mirror, her gaze lingering on her reflection for a while. Having just passed the Lolo Logistics assessment, she was still adjusting to city life. The city was a whirlwind compared to the quiet village she had left behind. The streets buzzed with life, day and night. Even in the dead of night, lights flickered and voices filled the air. Walls and doors were everywhere, and restrictions at every corner. In Changzhuang, she could run free, straight through the open land for as long as she wanted. Here, every step had to be measured carefully. The crowded markets left her both energized and overwhelmed.
Take it slow, Lumi,
she murmured to herself.
No rush, no rush.
Grabbing her straw hat, Lumi took a deep breath and opened the door, ready to face the city once more. Through waters and mountains.
Squeaky, I'm feeling dizzy,
Lumi murmured, leaning against the edge of the bed as the ship rocked beneath her. The waves crashed against the hull with a roar, and the violent turbulence made one feel like it might drag them into the depths. She clutched her hamster plushie tightly, closing her eyes, waiting for this torturous journey to end. Days later, the port finally came into view, where the sea met the sky. Seagulls squawked in the distance, and Lumi exhaled a breath of relief as she stepped onto solid ground.
Thank goodness,
she muttered. Her 2 companions, Tang Tang and Fule, staggered behind her, still pale from seasickness.
You 2 okay?
Lumi ran her fingers through her curls and led them to a nearby bench for rest.
Lumi, was it this bad when you first came to Rinasida?
Tang Tang, his head still drooping, asked. Lumi chuckled.
Oh yeah, that's why I told you to stay fit. There are places way harder to reach than this.
Tung Tung groaned, nodding.
Why did you recover so quickly? You were just as seasick as us a moment ago.
Lumi grinned, remembering her first trip here with Cheng Xiao.
Trust me, I was just as bad. My legs felt weak, I wanted to throw up, and I almost swore never to set foot on a ship again.
Fule nodded in agreement.
The ship did rock hard. It was terrifying.
Tung Tung and Fule were newbies who just joined Lolo Logistics and were assigned to Lumi's team for training. Lolo Logistics had entrusted her with guiding them through the ropes, but leading a team, Lumi wasn't so sure she was ready for that kind of responsibility. It wasn't because she hated caring for others, she was just worried that she might not meet these hopeful newcomers' expectations. Cheng Xiao had always made it look easy. Could she really do the same?
Lumi,
Tung Tung said, interrupting her thoughts.
You always talk about Cheng Xiao, but I've never seen her at the branch. Where is she?
She doesn't work in the field anymore,
Lumi replied softly.
What? But didn't you say she was an outstanding navigator every year? Why would she quit?
Fule asked, wide-eyed. Lumi gazed up at the blue sky, the expanse above Raguna remarkably clear.
Because of life,
she explained, as she had once before in her childhood.
Sometimes life leads you down different paths. Solaris is huge, and being in Lolo Logistics means traveling year-round. Cheng Xiao wanted something more stable, so she moved on.
Tung Tung tilted her head.
And what about you? Did your family mind you doing this? They had their concerns,
Lumi admitted.
But this is my life, and I love it. Traveling, seeing new things, connecting people across Solaris. That's what Lolo Logistics is all about. Cheng Xiao taught me a lot, and I'll do my best to pass it on to you both.
Her words hung in the air as the two newcomers considered them. Lumi smiled.
Life is full of comings and goings, she continued. Some people get off the ship, others get on. But as long as there are those willing to carry the torch, our "we promise, we deliver" motto will keep going strong.
Lumi stood up and gave a good stretch. Squeaky perched on her shoulder, nuzzling her cheek.
Rest for another 10 minutes, then we're off. Oh, you want some famous Raguna's triple scoop ice cream? My treat.
Yes,
please.
On the road. Ever since its connection to the outside world resumed, Changzhuang had experienced a dramatic change. New buildings and amenities were everywhere, yet when Lumi returned home, she felt a deep wave of nostalgia. Perhaps those who longed for change had already departed like Lumi once before, while those who remained had maintained their old habits and daily rhythms. The sun was dipping low, and as she walked through the village, smoke from cooking fires curled lazily into the sky, mingling with the sounds of laughter and the hum of evening insects. Her parents welcomed her home, placing a steaming bowl of noodles in front of her. The meat was generous, the broth rich, supplemented by a spoonful of fragrant chili oil. Lumi dug in, the heat making her cheeks flush as she slurped the noodles eagerly. Her mother chuckled softly, passing her a glass of water.
Slow down, Lumi. No one's going to steal your food,
her mother teased. After a deep sip of water and broth, she leaned back, letting out a contented sigh. Her father, seated nearby, tapped his pipe.
Been away for a long time, huh? How's your work?
Lumi smiled.
It's been tough, but things are getting better. Someone really helped me out. A hero from Jinzhou, actually.
Her mother raised an eyebrow, amused.
Oh, our little Lumi rubbing elbows with big shots now.
Lumi laughed, her eyes bright.
It's true. I was struggling with some work stuff, but thanks to her, I turned it all around. Here's what happened.
The next morning, with the village still shrouded in the quiet calm of dawn, Lumi left home to enjoy the morning landscape of the fields. It hadn't changed beyond recognition. It still bore the vestiges of the place that had shaped her. She wandered without aim, lost in thought, until a gentle pat on the shoulder brought her back to the present.
Lumi, what are you doing all the way out here?
Lumi blinked and turned to see Zhang, her childhood friend, standing behind her, smiling.
Oh, Zhang, I was just reminiscing. It's been a while.
Lumi's gaze drifted to the newly paved road winding through the hills.
I can't even tell where we are.
Zhang laughed.
Yeah, it just got finished recently. Much smoother than before, huh? It was once your favorite place, you remember?
She shifted her gaze to the road and continued.
Not many people come through though, but I hear your Lolo Logistics team visits regularly.
Zhang paused, intrigued.
Speaking of which, have you been to any cool places lately? Anything to share? You see, I've been thinking about leaving to see the world for myself as well.
Lumi nodded and began recounting her latest adventures, sharing the tales of distant cities and unknown lands with her childhood friend. When they parted ways, Lumi found a stone by the road and sat on it, propping her chin up as she gazed at the sky. She knew that she had to move forward. Only then would she see new things, bring about change, and make a difference for others. As night faded, the first light of morning washed over the slumbering mountains. There in the distance, where the mountain path met the sky, the familiar silhouette of a Lolo Logistics vehicle, glimmering in the sun, was approaching Changzhuang. Lolo Marker. Crafted by Lolo Logistics, this pen has journeyed alongside Lumi throughout Solaris. She uses it to sign logistics documents and chronicles adventures in her travel journal. In her travels, Lumi has crossed paths with fascinating and kind-hearted strangers, savored local delicacies and quirky snacks, and documented bizarre task discords that remain uncharted. Even the light-hearted anecdotes shared by her colleagues find their way into her travel journal, recorded with joy and enthusiasm. Navigator Baton. When Lumi first joined Lolo Logistics, she faced challenges in mastering her Forte. Under the guidance of a seasoned mentor, she fashioned this field command baton, which became her steadfast companion through her most anxious days. It witnessed her transformation from a trembling novice into a skilled navigator and eventually a trusted team leader. In the dark of night, the baton's shimmering hue casts a reassuring glow, a symbol of Lumi's growth. Squeaky Plushie. A stress relief squeeze plushie designed by Lumi in the likeness of her beloved companion, Squeaky. As life unfolds, Lumi faces many unexpected challenges. While she adeptly navigates her own challenges, the struggles of others can be quite a handful. Each person's wishes and expectations are as varied as the packages she manages. While she's alone, Lumi sometimes squeezes the plushie tightly, letting the weight of her worries dissipate with each squeeze.
Forte Examination Report. Resonance Ability, Kaleido-Refraction. Resonance Evaluation Report, Evaluation Basis, Resonance Assessment 1159-J. The exact timing of Resident Lumi's awakening is unclear. Spontaneous luminescence was observed since her childhood, and she gradually gained control over light. Resident Lumi's task mark is located on her right leg. Post-awakening observations have not found any significant physical changes. Lumi's resonance spectrum pattern mirrors the characteristics of light. When she utilizes her Forte, she can convert light into electroenergy and supply it to specific materials. Analysis test samples revealed a non-convergent rebels curve with a noticeable periodic waveform. Therefore, Lumi is classified as a congenital resonator. Overclock Diagnostic Report. Resident Lumi's waveform graph shows elliptical fluctuations. The time domain pattern is irregular and no abnormal waveforms are observed. Resonant criticality, high. Resident Lumi possesses high stability with minimal risk of overclocking. Records indicate no history of overclocking. Routine examinations are advised with no current need for psychological counseling.